Hey everybody, Randall here from Braggin Rights Precision. Hope you are having a blessed and wonderful day. It's the July 5th, so we hope you still have all your fingers and toes from July 4th yesterday. So we want to go over some of our products for your X-10 press, made by Frankford Arsenal. Wonderful press. And we tried to make some products to help enhance your using of the press. We make some holders that hold your tools right on your press. It holds the factory tools that come with it. That way you're not trying to look all over your benches and shelves and figure out where you left your tools at. It's going to be right there on the press where you need them. Out of the way though. We make quite a few functional items for the press, just things to help enhance an already great press. So we are a preferred vendor by Frankford Arsenal. So, feel safe that we're making good products for you. You will see some of their logos on a few of our items as well. We have legal permission to do that because we are a preferred vendor. So let's go over some of these. This is our missing primer sensor. This is a must-have for the press, or any press for that matter, because the last thing you want to do is be running your press. Next thing you know, you've missed a primer, you've run out of primers, whatever the case may be. And then you have a mess because you got a case going through, then it gets powder through it. You don't realize the primer was missing. Now you're playing cleanup. And on this particular press, it's a little bit of a pain to pull the shell plate off just to clean your press up to get the powder out of it. So this helps eliminate that. What it does, it works with the factory tool head that's already got the warning system in it. It plugs right in just like the rest of your sensors. And it knows when there's a primer missing, and it's going to alert you of such. Now it does this on the last hole before it goes in to your case. That way it knows before it reaches. It installs very easily, takes approximately 15 minutes to install it, and after that, you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's just going to be there and it's going to do its job. Next up is the round counter. It works very simple. It works off of the cycles of the press. It's very reliable. Simply set up your press for whatever caliber you're running. Once you have everything right and you're ready to make bullets, go ahead and run the press around until the first finished round is about to fall into the finished bucket. You would hit your reset, and then go ahead and run your press. So every time your press cycles, it's going to count around. Very simple. Now, say you get in the middle of your loading cycle and you need to take a break, need to go get lunch, whatever the case may be. You can power it off, go take your lunch. When you come back, power it back on, it's going to be exactly where you stopped at. So that's a nice feature. You don't turn it off and then lose your round count. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility. As we mentioned, this works off the cycling of the press. It's going to work every time. It's pretty doggone foolproof. You'll have no issues with it, ever missing one. And it's really simple to install. The whole process takes about 5 minutes. Everything comes pre-wired and together. Simply take the front 2 screws out of your shuttle cover. Put the switch housing on. You'll be supplied with 2 longer screws. Tighten them down. They do not require a lot of torque. Then after that, you will simply mount the top half. 2 screws there, you're done. 5 minutes or less, nice round counter. Next on the list is our alignment tool setup. So anytime that you change out a tool head, there's always a possibility that you need to realign the tool head with the guide rod on the back side. We have a video on that as part of our setup series. This tool makes it so much easier to make sure everything is correct. Also, when you adjust your indexing, especially if you've broken a bearing and you need to readjust, this tool is going to help you check to make sure that you have your indexing dead on the money. So we'll show you how it installs, but we do have a video on this already, so no need to repeat that. Just trying to show you the tools that we have available and explain them to you. This fits every caliber of shell plate currently available for the X-10 press. If they come out with new calibers, we'll add in another dowel that fits that caliber. Setup is very simple. You just simply remove your sizing die, install our guide die. You're going to lower your press. Make sure it's screwed down far enough that it hits both stages of the dowel. Because the way this works, you can adjust it until it hits the first stage, which has around 15 thousandths of play. Then you dial it in until it hits the second stage. There's around 3 to 5 thousandths of play between the two. So it's real simple. Go ahead and cycle your press a couple of times. Install it. Cycle it without lowering it completely. Lower it down and you'll watch to make sure that you have everything adjusted on your tool head through the guide rod, or depending on which process you're doing at the time, whether it be indexing, that when it goes down, this dowel does not move when that die goes over it. Then you know everything is perfectly centered and you know that your casers are going to center into your die. Nothing is moving. I'm hitting both stages. I know that my indexing is dead on the money, and I know that my tool head is aligned perfectly. That way, all of my cases are going to center my dies. Next up is the spent primer catcher. This thing is very easy to install. It takes about 20 seconds. It fits right in place of where you would put the factory tube that comes with it. Factory tube allows you to come out the bottom or out through the front. That way it doesn't matter which type of mount that you use for your press, whether it be the inline fabrication like I use that allows it to come forward, or if you bench mount it straight onto your bench, it's going to work either way. It just simply, the snout pushes in, get it started, push forward from the bottom. The first time you do it, it'll have to snap in. It's a very tight fit, won't go anywhere. Fill up your tray. This will easily hold 500 primers. Take the tray out, toss them, put the tray back in. Very simple setup, very handy. Next up is just a very simple tool that helps you cycle your press without the powder drop dispensing powder. You use this whenever you're setting your press up, making adjustments. You don't want the powder to drop. If a case activates everything, you don't have to empty your powder hopper this way. It's very simple. All you do is just raise your powder up. It snaps in and out. It is really that easy. Now, your case activated powder drop. As it goes up is when it drops. So when you go to put this thing in, I usually take one of my trays from my scale and I'll put it underneath of it. I'll raise it up. That way I catch the powder. If you don't do this, you have a mess on your press. It's very simple. Save my powder. Installed and done. This is our overlay for the case hopper. Very simple. Self-stick adhesive on the back. Just peel it, stick it on. Now you can see your on-off. You know where your settings are at for your speed, which is nice. That way you can remember it, write it down, whatever you need to do per caliber. You can see where your gate is set at per caliber. None of these markings are on there from the factory. So just makes things really nice and simple and repeatable. Takes about literally 30 seconds to install. This is our newest item. It's a powder vibratory that works with the case activated powder drop. This will work on the one that goes on your press. It will also work on your bench mounted powder measurer from Frankford Arsenal. This will work with the stock tube, hopper tube from Frankford, and it also works with the DramWorks hoppers. They both fit the same way. This does several things. The most important thing that it does is it keeps the powder from clumping and building up in the bottom of your powder measure, and it gives you much more consistent metered throws. I've got lots of testing on this that I did with and without it, with different types of loads as far as the weights go, different types of powder. I've tested it with stick powders. I think it was H4895. I tested it with CFE Black, CFE 223, and I tested it with Tight Group. These are all kind of known powders to be finicky, to keep a really consistent drop, and it improved them very consistently. So this thing is pretty simple to install. Just remove your original tube, put this in its place, drop the tube into the adapter. This adds about 8% or so to the capacity of your powder as well, so it improves your powder capacity. It's a very simple setup. Now, the phone microphone or camera microphone is definitely going to make it sound louder than it really is. It's really not that loud. No way out of having some noise with it. So this thing works great. Newest product. So when you're running the vibratory for the powder, once it's settled in, you're going to think, well, it's not doing its job. It's not moving. Well, once it settles, it's not going to move at the top. It's going to move at the bottom, which is where it's supposed to work. So right now, it is not on. And I can stir this up. Nothing drops. The moment I turn it on, you can see that it drops. It's doing its job. It's only going to drop so far. You need to leave it on while you're running your press, because every time you pull the handle, powder falls out the bottom. You want the vibratory to go ahead and make sure that powder consistently drops back down in. It doesn't form any holes, air pockets, whatever it be. And on the larger rifle calibers, it helps keep everything consistent because it gives you a more thorough drop, because everything is loose as it falls in from the vibratory. So it keeps it from packing or clumping on certain powders that are notorious for that. And this is how the whole thing works. So don't think that just because you see it settle and stop that it's not doing its job. It positively is. This thing is very simple to install. It just takes one bolt to bolt the control box to it that controls the speed and frequency. So everything is made to fit around all of our other Braggin Rights products. That way everything's not going to clash on the press. It's a very simple operation. It has a separate on-off switch in addition to the controller as an on-off. But once you find the correct frequency that you want to use, because it'll change with the different types of powders, you don't want to mess with your setting. It's easy. Instead of turning it off here, you're going to simply turn it off at the on-off switch. We have given you plenty of length on your power wire. It'll work with any standard USB charger. It does not come with the charger itself. Most people have about 10 or 12 of them in their house already. and this keeps the cost down. Next up is the organizer that goes on your X-10 press. This is going to hold everything that comes in the 2 boxes that come with your press. It's just going to put them on the press nice and neat. They're where you can use them and store them and not lose them. The accessory holder makes a nice, neat job of holding everything that's in these 2 cases, with the exception of we did not make provisions for the Allen wrenches. Let's face it, probably not going to use those out of this kit anyways. So to save space, we didn't include them. It holds all of your buttons. It doesn't matter if it's the large or the small, they'll fit in the same. Hold your inserts for the powder measure. Hold your swage and your priming rods, case reducers, your plungers. Holds everything that you need. One nice, neat little package. Very easy to install. Just mounts right on the rail. 1 bolt holds it, and it holds it plenty well.